What's just one thing you'd tell, let's say, to any of your friends or someone that's still using, what would you tell them to do right now?
I don't know. The first thing that always comes to my mind is if you mess up, you're going to be shocked at what happens if you go tell everybody. Don't try to hide your mistake. Don't try to hide your mistake. Don't try to hide, especially if you relapse. Or it doesn't have to be a relapse. Most people are terrified that if they have overcame something, that if someone finds out that they failed after this great struggle, that they can't tell people because they'll be disappointed in them.
Great victory, you mean?
Yeah, after a great struggle and then a great victory. So it's kind of like if you're an army, and I've thought of it this way: if you're an army and you beat, like say David's army or whatever, you beat all these countries, then one day you come up to this little town and they whip your butt. Like, dang, how did they beat me? You don't want your friends to know that you got your butt kicked by that little town. They know you're this great man of valor and faith, and for me it was like, I have a video that is helping people get sober. There is no way I can tell anybody that I have used again.
So basically going back is even worse than the first time.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, though, it doesn't matter. There is a relative there's something that happens when we make mistakes. They are made. You can't undo them. It's what you do next that counts. That's more important than anything else.
Right.
It's what you do after. What I'm realizing is more than anything is after you make a mistake and you're covered with guilt and shame and condemnation, that your thought process, what's going on in your head, the reality of what your friends will think, what people will do, they'll cut you off, they'll lose all respect for you, and your life will be over. Everything that you think at that moment's a lie because you're not thinking rationally. Because everything that you thought and believed that was happening in your life, first of all, you probably have built yourself up a little further than you should have, but the fall that you took isn't really what you believe inside about it. You believe inside because we crave so bad to have, approval from people. I don't care what people say, or I don't need nobody's approval. Yeah, you do. We need approval from people. So when we think we've lost that approval, we can't be honest about it for a million different reasons, but that's the main thing that I've thought lately, is that if somebody makes a mistake, it's not like you think it's going to be. Your friends are not going to do what you think they're going to do.
What actually happens if everybody would find out about whatever?
Well, for the most part, people see it as courage. Most people would see it as courage. Oh my gosh, that's what happened to me. When I first relapsed, I went to my singles group, and I was sitting there fidgeting for an hour, and I knew in my head I had to get it out. And I know myself. I'm 38 years old. I would never tell people when I mess up. I just don't do it. So I'm sitting, it's all going through my head. It's like, yeah, you're probably not going to do it. You're going to go home, and you're not going to tell these people. And that started to piss me off. So I pretty much just like, hey, guys, I got something I'd like to tell you. And I just like blurted it out. And the support, it was just crazy. What it did for me in that moment, yeah, it didn't stop the madness completely, but in the moment it did. Their response was just incredible. There was nothing of judgment or withdrawing and then I started to feel like I had a revelation on confess your faults one to another that you may be healed. But
so the best thing to do is just be honest.
Talk to people about it.
Yes.
Because courage is not what we think. See, what you see with your eyes as courage doesn't feel like that when you're on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. Somebody getting up on a stage sharing a horrible mistake they made, or me sharing my story. Mm-hmm. I suddenly realized after I released that story and I listened to it, my first thought was, damn, I said some stuff in there that some people probably barely knew. And I started realizing that
you mean
I just kind of spilled my guts about some stuff.
You wouldn't have had to say all that?
I wouldn't have had to say all that about my dirt. But then to other people, they all said it looked like courage. And I was like,
right.
Yeah. I started realizing courage doesn't have anything to do with what we think courage is. I'm going to be strong, courageous, and go fight that bear, or whatever it might be. Or I'll be courage, and I'll stand up for this poor little guy that's getting bullied. Or most of the time, courage is actually just overcoming our own inability to face fear and
What's
judgment.
That, what's that? This video, TED Talk video about vulnerability?
Oh yeah, Brene
The
Brown.
The power of vulnerability.
Power of vulnerability. That rings in my head all the time too. That's where I first heard that statement. That when I'm up here sharing, it's vulnerable. I'm being vulnerable, and you guys call it courageous. Or no, when I'm up here sharing, to me it's vulnerable, and it feels like I'm weak and spilling my beans. But when I'm in the crowd watching someone else do it, it looks like courage. But that's what it comes down to when you mess up or when you relapse is exactly that.